Have you ever had a tiny little experiment completely shift the way you see your business? Because apparently I have. Welcome to The Solo Grind, your weekly coffee break with me, a fellow solo business owner, making her dreams come true while operating as a team of one. I am Teresa Schloop, the original caffeine creative, and I am also brand strategist and a web designer by day, and this podcast is my fun little side project, which is all about having the conversations I think just don't happen enough in the world of entrepreneurship. Here we talk about building a life and business that feels just perfect for you, because there is no one clear path to achieving success. And it isn't about checking boxes or racking up accomplishments either. Success is about truly living the life that feels so good you know that you are living the dream. Welcome back to the Solo Grinds, my friends. I am so excited you are here today. And today we are actually going to be following up to last week's episode. What is AI saying about you? Because I did a little experiment that turned into a full-blown podcast episode and has actually shifted into some big changes in my business that are happening behind the scenes, which I'm not going to talk about just yet. I'm going to let them unfold naturally here on this podcast. But I did want to continue the conversation from last week. So just in case you missed that, let me give you a little context. A few weeks ago, completely on a whim, I opened up a brand new AI chat window where it had zero context about me, the person on the keyboard, and I asked one simple question. What can you tell me about Teresa Schloop? Now, I have to say, the results were quite fascinating, and for the most part, I was really, really happy with what came back. I liked the business that it described to me. I liked the person behind that business that it described. And it actually reassured me that the way I am showing up online is very much in alignment with who I really am and how I want the world to perceive me, especially in regards to my business. But buried inside that conversation were a few things that had me stop and go, that is not what I expected to see. So essentially, I began to realize that there are a couple areas in my business where I have been unintentionally sabotaging myself and the direction that I want my business to go. Now, this sabotage isn't some big dramatic self-destruction kind of way that is going to burn my business to the ground. And no, my business is not falling apart. It's actually doing quite well. I just simply discovered a few things that are no longer supporting the life and the business that I actually want to create. And I honestly think that this happens to a lot of us. When you're in business, you are most likely someone who is full of ideas, unless you've inherited a business that you once worked in. And even then, you probably have ideas of how you would do things differently. We are full of ideas of what we want to do, what we want to create, what we want to put out into the world, how we want to show up. And with these ideas, we begin to head down a path because it's a path that makes sense at the time. It feels like the right direction. It's something that we just know we have to try. And we begin to experiment. We say yes to opportunities. We build offers. We market ourselves in particular ways until one day we realize, oh, wait, this direction isn't actually taking me where I want to go anymore. And here's the interesting part about that, or about my dive into this arena after my little chat with the AI buddy, is that as I started researching how I wanted to pivot a few things behind the scenes in my business, I kept running into this response over and over and over again that I didn't expect. Whether it was articles online from my Google searches or in my AI brainstorming conversations, everything kept trying to give me a pep talk. And I mean constantly a pep talk. I don't want you to feel like a failure. You didn't make a mistake. This isn't failure. It is growth, Teresa. You should be very proud of yourself and what you've accomplished. And I gotta say, this constant pep talk really started to annoy me because I didn't feel bad at all about any of the decisions that I have made in my business. I didn't feel bad that I had gone down these directions that I've discovered now are unintentionally sabotaging myself. I wasn't sitting here feeling devastated or beating myself up or spiraling because I realized something needed to change. I just discovered something that isn't working anymore, thought, well, that's fascinating. Okay, let's fix it. And that's what I was trying to do. For me, that is how I approach most things in life. When I see something that isn't working, I change it. If I realize that something isn't working the way I thought it would, or the way I hoped it would, I don't turn that into a personal identity crisis. And I realize not everybody thinks the way that I do. Not everybody would immediately be like, oh, well, that's fascinating. Let's change it. Heck, years ago, I probably wouldn't have thought this way either. The Teresa 20 years ago, damn sure would not have thought this way. And maybe even the Teresa 5 years ago would have turned this into a personal identity crisis. But that's not who I am today. It did get me thinking about how much the world tells us how we're supposed to feel. And I think this is one of the things that trips a lot of us up, because when enough voices keep insisting that we must be feeling disappointment in ourselves, or that we must be feeling embarrassed about making a choice that didn't work out, or even if something is telling us that we should be feeling like a failure, if we're not careful, eventually we start believing that maybe we are the failure. Maybe we should be disappointed in our actions. Maybe we should feel embarrassed. And I think that's incredibly dangerous as entrepreneurs, especially because we have positioned ourselves to be very public out in the world. We are showing the world what we are about and what we want to create. And people see our lives a little bit more intimately than they may see other people who aren't showing up with a business and a dream. We also have people in our lives that don't get what it is to be an entrepreneur, and they see every experiment that doesn't work as proof that we are bad at business. They think every pivot we make is quitting, or that every shift is because of a failure. They also see every new idea out there that we have, that we explore, as something that's risky, because what if that doesn't work out either? What if it doesn't work out? What do we have to lose? Trying something and realizing it's not a good fit is not failure. It is information. It is results of an experiment, and it is clarity that helps move us forward. That's it. A good example of one of those risky moves that I took in my business way back in 2012 that people honestly told me was a silly idea or a dumb idea was when I started making videos to put out online initially on my YouTube channel, because live videos wasn't a thing. Before I started making these videos online, I will admit I was absolutely terrified. And I did worry about what people would think. I did worry about how I would be perceived. I did worry about if it would sabotage my business. But I finally pushed myself into doing it. And honestly, it completely changed my business. Way back in 2019, when I was really hardcore trying to get my web design business to the next level, I did a campaign of videos twice a week, and it launched my business in ways that I never would have imagined. It definitely up-leveled my business. But if I'd have got caught up in that worry and stress, what if I'm bad at this? What if people judge me? what if it doesn't work? What if it becomes a failure? I would have never done those videos and I would have missed out on one of the biggest growth moments in my business. Since doing those videos in 2019, I have done a lot of things that did not work out or turned out to be bad fits for my business. In 2022, I completely rebranded into an agency model, fought with that for 18 months, and then have spent the last couple years undoing that positioning. I have offered services that turned out not to be a good fit for my business or my personality. I have attempted marketing techniques that just didn't do things that I thought they were going to be. And there's a lot of other decisions I could probably list out if I really sat down and thought about it that just didn't work out the way I thought they would. And you know what? I don't regret any of them, because every wrong turn that I took gave me clarity on the direction I do want to go. Every experiment, whether it failed or succeeded, taught me something really valuable. And every season of my business, even when I rebranded as an agency, helped me refine what I really do want in my life. I don't know that I would have the clarity in my business or my life that I have today had I not gone down that road of positioning myself as an agency and then unpositioning myself and embracing the solo entrepreneur that I love being. None of those missteps, misdirections, experiments, none of that was failure, and none of it do I regret. It was all growth and clarity. And I will say this, the older I get, the less interested I am in worrying about what other people think. I don't stress and worry about my pivots, my changes, or my decisions. I don't worry if somebody thinks that I'm doing another crazy, risky idea, or if this thing that I decide to retire was a failure. In fact, the shifts and changes that I'm making in my business, because I am going to be letting some things go, I've not even announced it publicly that I'm making these shifts and changes. I've told my best friend and my sister bestie because they're kind of an extension of who I am anyway. So, and I tell them everything. But publicly, I haven't made any announcements. And I'm working behind the scenes, putting things in place that feel right to me. The reason I'm not announcing my shifts and changes or ideas right now is because I don't need permission to make them. I just need to do what works best for me. So I'm sitting here taking some time to evaluate where I am in my life and my business, to look really closely at what is working for me and what is no longer aligned with the direction that I want to go. And I'm trying my best to make good strategic decisions about what comes next. Now, will these decisions be the best? Time will tell. But if they aren't, I know how to make a new decision and shift in a new direction that supports me at that time. Today, if there's one thing that you take away from this episode, it would be this. I want you to allow yourself to explore, to pivot, to shift, to change, and to do what feels right to you without stress, worry, or shame. Allow yourself to outgrow things without turning it into a personal identity crisis. Allow yourself to go in a new direction when that direction feels right. Allow yourself to realize that something no longer fits in the life that you want, and then it's okay to let it go. You are absolutely allowed to make strategic changes without turning it into a story about failure. In fact, you don't even have to embrace failure. And I personally don't believe in failure. As I've said probably a few times throughout this podcast episode alone, and definitely a few times throughout my entire podcast, these are just opportunities to learn, to grow, to change, to shift, and to gain clarity on what direction we actually want to go and what we want to create in our lives. So my friends, don't let anyone else tell you how you're supposed to feel. Not the people in your life, not Google, and not your AI buddy. He doesn't know you as well as you think. You are the only one who can really tap into what you are truly feeling And you have a choice to feel good about the shifts in life and business. You have a choice to feel excited about finishing up a season that you're in and starting a new one. And you have the choice to see the steps that you've taken as growth and opportunities, and that the path was a necessary one to lead you to where you are today and where you are moving towards in the future. All right. Thank you, my friends, for tuning into this quick little episode of the Solo Grind. Again, I love these moments with you. I love these conversations, and I look forward to connecting with you again very soon. Until we meet again, my friends, have a wonderful, fabulous week. Thanks for tuning in to the Solo Grind. I hope that this episode is leaving you feeling good about the life and the business that you are building. If you loved what I had to say, please take a second to rate, review, and subscribe, or even share this podcast with a friend, as that helps me reach other solo business owners just like you. If you'd like to continue the conversation, please reach out to me through my website at caffeinecreative.io. I would love to hear what you have going on in your life.